I suppose for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been on this personal journey, trying to work through my own faith, and bizarrely, people have started to listen to that. I mean, I never expected to be listened to, or to write books, or to found communities. That was never on the agenda. I started Icon because actually I was sitting in a bar just like this with my French tutor at the time, and I said to her, I'd love to do something in a bar, on faith and life, and something that's really open. And she said, well, why don't you go up and ask Francie, who was the guy at the bar, who owned the place. Now, Francie's 6 foot, ex-IRA man, done a lot of time in prison, tough guy. And I'd had a couple of Guinness, so I thought, okay, I'll go up and chat to Francie. And I gave him the idea. I said, Francie, I'd love to do something in your bar. I don't want you to close it or anything. I don't want to do it in the back room. I just want to do something around people to do with faith and life, and how we sensitize ourselves to one another, how we can create a space where people will be an instrument of our further conversion. And he looked at me kind of strangely for a while, and then he said, okay, you're on in 3 weeks. And he wrote it in the book. And that was the beginning. And so I had to think of something. And so 3 weeks later, Icon began, and I expected 2 people and a dog to show up, but actually the room was full of people. I brought in storytellers and DJs and artists, and we created this event. And then at the end of the night, Francie said, well, that seemed to work. You're on again in 4 weeks' time. And he didn't really ask me, he just told me. And when Francie says things like that, you just do it, So there it was, I did it again. And then he said, one more time, okay, you can try it again. And the 3rd time he said, I've got you in the book for the rest of the year. And Icon began. And then what happened was people started asking me why I was doing what I was doing. So I had to start making up reasons and justify all of the things that we were involved in. And that's how a lot of new things happen. Because see, revolutions always happen before their time. They're never timely. And they're never timely because they challenge what is currently existing. You cannot find justification for what you want to do in the present if what you're challenging is what presently exists. What you have to do is create something new that ruptures the present, that then justifies what you just did. It's a retroactive justification. It's like retroactive desire. If you have a child, you can't desire a child until the child is born, because the child's not born. You can desire a child because you want to look after somebody or some pathological reasons like that. But you only can desire a child when they're born, whenever they're there. I can desire a watch because I don't own it, because there's an absence. But when I have the watch, I don't desire it anymore. I enjoy it. With people, it's different. You can't desire someone you don't know because you don't know them. But when you meet them, your desire is sparked. Your desire is born there. And so people are like, the black hole that Wile E. Coyote carries in his pocket, and he puts it down on the ground and he jumps into it. That's kind of like human subjectivity. This human being, which is very small, opens up to infinite proportions. And so whenever you meet someone who you love, they are yet to come. There is so much more of them you don't know. So the desire is sparked when you meet somebody. And that means when someone has a kid, in a sense, they'll often say, oh, I was incomplete until I had my child. And, makes you feel bad if you don't have a kid and all that. Oh, you're incomplete, I'm incomplete. But then it's actually true and false. It's not that they were incomplete until they had the child. As soon as they had the child, they were incomplete and complete at the same time. In other words, the truth of the loving parent is, I never needed you until you arrived, but now that you have arrived, I realize I always needed you. That's what revolutions do. We didn't know we needed the revolution until it arrived, and now when it happened, we realized we always needed it. That's why Nietzsche says some of us are born posthumously. And Jesus says, my time is not yet, and yet he's there. What do you mean his time is not yet? He's standing right in the midst. He is in the present. What does it mean to say it's not yet? Which is what eschatology is, the idea of the not yet in the present. Living something that doesn't. And that's the difference between revolution and insurrection. A revolution, in a sense, transforms the entire landscape, but an insurrection lives the revolution in the now before it actually happens all over the place. So it's like a